Good morning, afternoon, evening, the world over. Welcome to another Nerd Nation theme. Welcome to another highly illogical podcast talking about Star Trek, our favorite subject, one of our favorite subjects. We're all Trekkies here, and I hope you guys are too. And if you're not one, we'll hope maybe we can convert you to one. We're going to be talking about Q, the legendary Q, John Delancey's amazing character for Star Trek that was introduced to us in Next Generation and has also been in DS9 and Voyager. This guy is somebody who you always love to see in any episode of Star Trek. He brings joy, he brings drama, he brings new characters like the Borg, and he's just very memorable. I don't think there's many memorable recurring characters in Star Trek like Q. I think in my opinion, I think he's the best. I think he's the most memorable and the most recognized recurring character in Star Trek. We can discuss that later. Some people might say Professor Moriarty, but he's only been in 2 episodes. And the Borg, I guess, is another one. But John Delancey, Q, was the one who introduced us to the Borg. And that's really about it. I mean, you've got a few Klingon characters and stuff like that. And some of the people in DS9 were initially just the odd recurring character, but then they became mainstays like Gul Dukat and stuff like that. Yeah, Q is the man. In my opinion, this is the best returning character in Star Trek. So let's start off with that. Would you, either of you two, agree on that particular fact, or is there somebody I forgot to mention? I'll start off with you, Roberto.
No, that's kind of why I thought I proposed this topic, because Q is fundamentally the best guest star of any Trek series ever. I mean, the only one that I could compare him to as a reoccurring character is Shran from Enterprise, the Andorian, the blue one.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a guest. He was a reoccurring character that I really loved on that show. But really, I mean, he doesn't even, in my opinion, he doesn't even hold a candle really to Q, because Q is by far one of the defining traits that is introduced into the DNA of Star Trek.
Mm-hmm. I mean, only he can show. Like the moment they made DS9, I was surprised that he was only in 1 episode. And personally, that episode didn't leave a lasting impression. But all I can remember is the boxing match itself. But his impression on Voyager was great, so good that he did it 3 times, and I think one of them was a 2-parter, I believe, about Q. What do you call it? A kid, and the other one was like the war in the Q Continuum. I'm sorry for going on a tangent here, but I totally forgot about Boogeyman. Boogeyman, would you agree? Is Q the best returning guest character in Star Trek?
Oh, by far. I mean, if you look at him, it's Q. I mean, you can compare Q to anything that is chaos in this world, even in real life implications.
And it got me thinking. Sorry, I apologize. Keep going, mate.
No, you're good. You're good.
It got me thinking that, do you think Star Trek maybe missed a trick in not doing a series based on Q? Like, he could have been, before we had a Loki series of a Marvel even, not Marvel, we could have had a Q series with him just going around and fucking shit up for everyone. I would have loved that. It would have been a totally different take. It would be Star Trek as well. Different perspective, maybe more on the villain, if you want to look at Q as a villain. I look at him as an anti-hero, personally. Would you like to see? Do you think Star Trek missed the trick of not putting a Q series, considering he's returned so many times?
I don't think a series would have been a good idea. I would have loved to have seen Q in maybe 1 or 2 of the movies. Because by the time the movies started coming out for like Next Gen, he was definitely a character in the series, and he should have been in one of the at least one of the movies. Like even the one First Contact.
No, First Contact is the best Next Generation movie, so I wouldn't want him in that. But definitely Insurrection or Nemesis. or maybe generations even.
I mean, First Contact it would almost make too much sense to have Q in there, just because it's like they're fighting. It revolves around the Borg. You know, the reason the Borg are there, we all know why.
Yeah, and I guess. I'm not sure personally. I'm not necessarily personally feeling that, because I think it would have been overkill, and it would have maybe taken. It would have maybe not given Q enough light. I mean, personally, I would like to have seen a more Q-centric movie instead of him being just a part of the movie. Like him maybe setting this, like making like an end. He could have been like the end game for the Next Generation crew, like with some sort of elaborate setup. Something I can't think of it at the top of my head, but yeah, Q not being in a movie. What the fuck, man? I mean, this is why, like, you see someone like Khan come back in episode 2 of Star Trek, and it makes sense. It works really well. Having someone like Q come back in a film definitely would have worked, in my opinion, and they definitely missed a trick on that. I agree with you. I think I would have preferred Q to be in the film than in the series. How about you, Roberto? What do you think?
I mean, having him in Insurrection would have been okay. I think that would have been the best place for him. You know, this struggle, this almost immortal
moral dilemma.
Yeah, like a moral dilemma type thing. I think that's where Q is best at. The only thing is that Q, the way they Q was in the very first episode, and the way they capped it off at the last episode, I feel like if Q was in a movie, it would have disserviced the character. And I know that
I agree.
If this was real life, it would have been different. But I feel like the character arc for Q at the end of Next Generation was kind of the perfect send-off for that character between Q and Picard. Him, throw aside him going into Voyager and all that other stuff, but in Next Generation terms, I think that was the perfect capsulation to that arc. And bringing him back in a movie, although it would have been great and funny, and I'm sure it would have been, probably the best. It would have made the movie better. I just feel like it would have disserviced that season finale. I am, however, upset. Oh, I can't. Well, I'm going to tell you this, and it's a spoiler for Picard, but it's not a huge spoiler. So at the end of Picard, Q does not show up. So I'm just going to leave it there. People know, but I just feel like with the way that series ended, Q not showing up, that was a disservice to the Q character.
Yeah, he should have been there.
Yeah, he really should have been there. So
I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago in one of the other.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but the thing is that I can't help but think that Q's arc never ended on the last episode of TNG, because we saw him in other episodes of Star Trek in DS9 and Voyager. So we got we got a continuation of Q. We got more of Q. Sorry, go on.
You're fine. Oh, going back to DS9 though. I mean, I did not think Q. I mean, Q showing up in one episode of DS9 was fine. I feel like the mirror universe for DS9 was the Q for Next Gen. Like, you always had one episode every season of Q in the Next Generation. Every season of DS9, you had an episode of the mirror universe. I think Q just didn't work in DS9. And I think
they should have given him more than one episode. If he couldn't bounce off Cisco, he could have bounced off a whole bunch of people. He's got history with O'Brien, for instance. So he could have bounced off other people from DS9, not necessarily Cisco. I think one episode is a disservice.
I think maybe one episode might have been okay once Worf showed up. And then maybe a little bit of bouncing off of O'Brien. Maybe have an kind of like an encompass a bottleneck episode where Q takes O'Brien and Worf, and because they're a part of the Next Gen, they were a part of the Next Gen crew, and puts that and does something with them. But I feel like, and maybe Dax, maybe, I don't know. I mean, like, one member of Cisco and Q just I didn't like it, and I don't think it fit well. And I was okay. As I said, the mirror universe was the Q of DS9. So yes, Picard never hit me. I'm not Picard. Most overacted
one of the
episode
things,
DS9.
one of the problems with the original series of Star Trek compared to everything else is that they made alien shit more mystical and magical than scientific at times. And nearly everyone not nearly everyone, but there was loads of episodes where they came across Q-type beings, and I'm very happy in a way that, from Next Generation onwards, that they kind of scrapped that and they just kept it with one, godlike being, and that being Q. I mean, obviously there's a lot of powerful aliens, but they usually have weak spots and shit like that. Q doesn't, and so I like they kept it as that, because having godlike creatures in every episode like they did in the original series would have ruined Next Generation, in my opinion. It kind of ruined the original Star Trek, in my opinion. Do you guys agree?
Q? Wait,
Well, the fact that we only really so what I'm basically trying to say is that the original Star Trek had a lot of godlike aliens like Q,
Oh,
and whilst Star Trek Next Generation onwards really had only one I can never say the word properly. One godlike
Omnipotent.
deity like being I can't say it. But that word you just said in Q, everybody else could have been a powerful alien, almost planet like destruction type alien, but they still had their weaknesses. They still had a way of getting to them. Q doesn't, and he's the only sort of godlike alien in Star Trek, and that's a different trend to the original series. So do you prefer that, or do you prefer how it was in the original series, where you had a fucking godlike creature every episode?
I think they did a good job with the Q. Kind of bouncing back to something else that was said about having like a different series. So I did. I've never read these books. I've kind of always wanted to, but they did come out with a three-part series on paper when it came to the Q. I was kind of just scrolling around pictures here, and I've ended up finding that one, and it jogged my memory that there is actual books on it.
So does that take place after?
Yeah, for sure.
Like,
I'm assuming it probably takes place after Next Gen was off the air. Because I'm looking at the uniforms here.
Well, I was about to say no. The uniform definitely hints at that, but
it's like I said, I haven't read the books. I remember seeing this a long time ago, and I've always wanted to read it, but I never bought the books.
Well,
the uniforms, they look their first contact onwards, so it could be any time.
Yeah. Well, do you want?
I like those uniforms, by the way.
I do too. I think they're much better looking than the big, bulky, solid colored ones. I like the gray ones. I know they're a little bit more boring, but it's a military. Technically, it's a uniform. Like, it's not supposed to be like flashy.
Yeah.
All right. So do we want to run
that?
through?
Is that canon, by the way? That book is canon, yeah?
Hold on, me.
Trek is never really. I mean, there's alpha canon and then there's beta canon, and usually a lot of the books are in beta canon, which means it's canon until it's not.
Yeah.
Something in the alpha continuity contradicts it. Then it's not canon.
Yeah,
anything in television contradicts it.
Yeah.
And television contradicts itself.
By Greg Cox. Greg Cox did a lot of. He actually wrote quite a few books with Star Trek. I actually do have one of his books. It's a Deep Space Nine. It's a Deep Space Nine book, and it's actually a really good read. I got to find it again. And it kind of like it kind of goes in between a couple episodes, and I forget exactly where in Deep Space Nine, but it goes in between the episodes of like another like plot series that was opened up but never closed, kind of like one of those things.
A plot hole?
Huh?
A plot hole?
Plot hole, whatever. Yeah. Sorry, I'm extremely tired. And it was a good he writes really good when it comes to Star Trek stuff, at least.
Okay, so you read that book?
The Deep Space Nine one I did, yeah. I don't remember exactly what it
But
was.
not the Q one.
Not the Q. No. I remember it actually advertises the Q books on the other book. And that's why. Then that's scrolling through pictures, and I saw the picture. And I was like, "Oh, that's right. They did write a book about this."
Do you think Q should have shown up in Enterprise?
No, not at all.
Like the Enterprise with Archer and stuff.
Yeah,
No.
John, yeah.
No, not at all. No, I think Q had a good stride in Next Gen and Voyager, and I think that's great. I mean, as I said, DS9 had the Mirror Universe. Voyager or Enterprise had Shran, the Andorian. He was a guest reoccurring character that was kind of a foil to Archer. Friend, foe, it just depends on the episode, really. And that's kind of what Q was. Although, Shran's not omnipotent, but still, it's still kind of the same thing.
That actor who plays that Andorian, he was also in DS9. But when he would say pink skin for a long time, I used to think he would call Archer pigskin. I had no idea. With the way, honestly, for a long time, I thought, fuck me, he's calling him pigskin. You know what I mean? It's like, all right, we're cool with this. And even now, when I look at it as pink skin, you know what I mean? Like, what's he going to call? What's his face? That pilot. I forgot.
Jeffrey Combs.
He's been in a few.
He's an amazing Star Trek.
Yeah.
Anything he's in.
But he's done so much, dude. He was in The Frighteners. He played what the fuck? What's the name of that Superman villain? Oh my god, his name escapes me. The alien Brainiac. He played Brainiac in Injustice games, in Injustice 1 and 2. If you watch those games, you watch it. Yeah, watch it as a movie. Injustice 2. You should watch those games as films on YouTube because they're fantastic entertainment. Seeing Superman turn dark. But yeah, he's Brainiac in Injustice 2.
I know that he's done some voice work in the Young Justice too. He's been in a couple Young Justice episodes because I can recognize his voice as soon as I hear it. I'm like, that's Jeffrey Combs, man. I love him. I'm pretty sure that's got to be his name. Now I'm gonna feel really stupid if that's not his name, but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but we know who. Yeah, but even those characters don't have those characters are usually part of an ensemble to do with an overarching thing to do with who they are to a degree. I know that might sound not that different to Q, but Q's got really, apart from the episode where he became human, and maybe the Q Continuum episode where they went to war, there was most of the time there was nothing on the line for Q. He was just doing it for shits and giggles. And the episode was so centric about him, he didn't really need supporting characters. You know, he was the character. He had to carry it as the villain or the anti-hero or the moral judge or whatever. And yeah, he did it really well. So I give him a lot of props, having to carry an episode as the protagonist, as the antagonist.
I mean, you know, So what about Voyager? Do you remember any of his stuff?
Well, as I said earlier, he had the double episode which was about the war with the Q Continuum. Actually, there wasn't one of them to do with the I swear there was more than 3 episodes. One of them was to do with a fellow Q. One of them was to do with a fellow. I think the one where he wants to get married in it, and then his mate wanted to die because he's seen and done everything.
Yeah,
including this. What we're doing now, he's done this. You know what I mean?
So
okay, go on. Tell me.
When it came to the Voyager ones.
He gave Janeway a puppy.
okay.
He wanted to bang Janeway so badly.
Sorry, I was looking at the wrong stream and I thought you guys were doing stuff in the background while I was talking. I was looking at the YouTube stream, and so it's like a 20-second delay. Anyways, the Voyager episodes completely revolve around him wanting to start a family. That is why the Civil War began in the Voyager series.
Yeah, okay.
So I mean, yeah, it's a 3-part. It's a 3-part series. You know, it's a 2-part series, and then one further on.
Well, no, okay. So here's what happened. The first episode the Q shows up is where Quinn shows up. It's where the Q who wants to become human, and then because he wants to die, like he wants to become mortal and die. So I mean, you know, that whole thing, and then that whole thing when Janeway grants him asylum and he becomes human and then he kills himself. That then starts. I mean, it is like a 3-part arc in Voyager, but it's like then that starts the whole Civil War because Quinn killed himself and that's never happened with the Q before and yada yada yada. So then you have the Civil War and everything where the Qs are fighting over who shouldn't live and like what their role in the universe is, and I don't even remember what their actual beef was with one another besides them wanting to fight, I guess. I don't know.
So the beef.
It was quite fascinating. Go on.
The beef was around the family portion of it. Some were on board with creating a new Q because they'd grown so knowledgeable in the universe that they didn't want to do nothing. I mean, you've seen it in the episode, like where they're in the desert. They don't want to do anything else. They're done. There's nothing else to see. There's
done
nothing
everything.
else. Yeah. Bringing a new Q into an existence would spark the fire under the Q again to get out there and learn new things.
Well, but the other thing is that the other thing is that Q wanted to mate with Janeway because Q felt that that the human race was kind of the catalyst that the Q continuum needed, like you said, to spark adventure, spark curiosity, exploration. I actually didn't realize this, but I was kind of looking over it really quick. That episode where Q and the other Q mate and have a child is like in the 3rd season, and then like they don't come back until the 7th season with the kid.
Yeah, they have a kid and shit. Yeah, I forgot about that too. But I just want to quickly mention that I think Voyager done the best service for the Q species because we never really knew much about. We knew that he was a fucking god, but having this Civil War and stuff and was fantastic. Like really understanding this race of aliens was one of the best things Voyager did regarding the Q, and I thoroughly enjoyed those episodes. They were fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
We know fuck all about them. We know they're powerful, but that doesn't really get underneath the layers of what they are, and this really expanded on that. That we're dealing with a broad race of people that have seen everything past, present, and future. What's more there to live for? It's brilliant. Absolutely genius writing. Yeah, genius.
And I mean, I kind of did a little bit of research. I mean, because they there's a little bit of a contradiction in the Q because in earlier episodes of Next Gen, the Q say that they have always existed, but then in later episodes of Next Gen, Q hints at the fact that they used to be corporeal beings, and I mean that's just, I mean you can always write that off as it's an incontinuity or a plot hole, but really I mean you can just write it off as Q being a trickster, like saying that they have always been and not really, or something like that, or maybe they've always been since they became the non-corporeal beings that we know them as now, but they actually did exist at one point in the time stream. You know, like I was doing some research on it, and it is heavily implied that, you know, the Q were one of the first races in the universe as corporeal beings to actually, you know, evolve. Yeah. So, you know, and then they eventually came to this point after billions of years where they basically left their mortal bodies and then became these, you know, omnipotent beings. And so technically they would have existed in the beginning because they're outside of time. Because there's Quinn takes Voyager to the Big Bang at one point, you know, to hide from the other Qs. So it's like, you know, you can always yeah, I mean, like
It's brilliant.
the Qs are one of the best things about any Star Trek ever. And although they don't fit in with every series, as I said with DS9, I feel like that, you know, discounting any, like, I would say Q is probably one of the best examples of like, I'm trying to think of how to word this. Q is like one of the best ways to convey to us how an omnipotent being would work if we interacted with an omnipotent being. And that's hard to write. You know what I mean? Like, but they did a fantastic job. Like, let's say that God was a person who interacted with us. Not a person, but you know what I mean? Would he not be like Q? I mean, you know, like maybe not as mischievous and trickstery, but you know, he exists of all time. I mean, you know, I don't know. I always found it, you know, kind of like the wormhole aliens. It's hard for us to fathom.
I agree.
It's hard for us to fathom how they see things.
Yeah, I agree. But by the way, was Q the one who introduced the Voyager to the wormhole aliens when regarding the Borg?
Huh?
The one from the sorry, not the wormhole aliens. Sorry, the aliens from a different universe. You know, when the Borg were trying to assimilate everything.
No, that was the Borg Zone doing.
I can never remember the number.
8472.
Yeah, Borg.
That was not Q. Had nothing to do with that.
No, Q had nothing to do with that. The Borg tapped into another dimension to try and expand.
Yeah, and ended up waking up someone worse than them.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And they were fucking. You know, I remember the season finale for that episode where the Borg cube takes the fucking Voyager and escapes from all of that shit, and you know it's fucking on. And obviously, then they want a fine piece of arse, and so they get Jerry Ryan on, and they get rid of Kess and all that shit. You know, that Kess. You know, I'm glad they did. I think they realized, you know what, we can't be having this guy who looks like he's in his 60s having a relationship with a 2-year-old. So yeah, I'm glad they got rid of that. But I'm going on a tangent now. I apologize.
Yeah. I'm like, are we talking about Kess now in 7 of 9?
I think me and my brother had the same look at the screen, like, are we gonna go there with this?
It's fine. I'm glad they got rid of it. You know, you think about it now. If we're going to talk about it, I'm not going to hide on this. It's fucking stupid if you think about it now. Can you imagine them doing a Star Trek episode where, like, you've got this species of alien that can grow up really quickly? It's only 2 years old, basically a fucking child still in the mind of this fucking alien, and she's like have a relationship with the other alien species who's probably about 60. It's fucking wrong. I'm glad they got rid of that shit. Anyway, I'll move on.
So to have my one quick comment on that. I think that might have been Star Trek's attempt to show time it's not relative just to the human species, but like you said, it was a failed. It became more creepy than it was beneficial to the series. That's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, back to Kid. Have you guys ever met him?
Who?
Sorry, go on.
John
Delancey.
I have not.
No.
He does a lot of convention stuff.
Oh, he probably does.
And a lot of autograph signings and stuff.
I do also want to bring up the fact that, do you remember Q, the episode where Picard was interested in wasn't it an archaeologist, and so was Q, or something like that? Like, wasn't he trying to
Cupid?
It's been so long since it was called Cupid, but the episode was called Cupid, with a Q, obviously.
I remember. Remind me.
But didn't he want to take? He wanted to take her across the cosmos and everything like that. And that's the episode where she showed back up on DS9 too. I think that's
how they brought Q into Deep Space Nine.
was with her. That's right. I forgot about that.
She got away from Q.
Who's she? Who are you talking about?
What is her name? God, hold on.
I'll get you a picture here. Hold on.
Hold on. What is her name? Vosh. Remember the archaeologist, the hot
The
archaeologist?
Bajoran.
No.
Yeah, the Bajoran.
She wasn't Bajoran. She was human, I thought.
She was human. Hold on. I got your picture right here. Let me just.
Hold on, I'm mistaking. I'm mistaken for somebody else then.
No, yeah. I think Picard met her on vacation, and she was like a thief or something. Or yeah, her.
Oh, vaguely.
And like she was manipulating
Vaguely.
Picard, but then she liked Picard. You know how that goes. I mean that's stupid shit. But I mean, yeah. And then I think she showed back up, and then Q was trying to get her to romp around the galaxy with him, and she ended up going. And then she wound up showing back like the end of that arc. I love how all these arcs cross over into different shows. But you know, and then like she shows up back on Deep Space Nine, and that's where the episode of Deep Space Nine comes in with Vosh. So, and you know, the whole Picard thing. Yeah, there she is. That's on Deep Space Nine. I forgot about that.
I can vaguely remember it, man. It's not rattling my brain cells at all. So much to take in. I haven't watched old Star Trek in such a long time, and when I do, it's usually because an episode just popped up. But you know, my viewing methods have changed now.
I have a never.
I'm more likely to catch a little clip on YouTube. You have a never-ending what?
A never-ending cycle of Star Trek. Like, I'll finish it. Like, I'll watch it in chronological order. Although I don't really watch the original Star Trek too much. As good as some of the story is in there, I've just never really been the original Star Trek fan. But I like Next Gen, Enterprise, Deep Space Nine, Voyager. Like, I have a nonstop.
I'm actually in the middle of Voyager right now. I kind of have it on in the background.
Well, those
doing something.
Those three shows were like released within 6 years of each other, so there was a connection. You know, there was a trifecta with those three shows. Big time. I mean, all three shows. A lot of, on many occasions, there were crossovers.
Well, I also have Enterprise in my rotation because I like Enterprise, but I know a lot of people don't. But I don't care.
Yeah, it wasn't the right way. It wasn't the right direction for Star Trek. They need to do a show.
Maybe one day we can have a discussion on one of these streams about why. Because I honestly think it was exactly what Star Trek needed. And
a prequel, no.
Yeah.
Prequels are prequel. People go to prequels when they realize, damn, we don't know what to do going forward, but we know what these characters are about. So let's just explain the molding of these characters with prequel stories because we've got enough material to work with on who they are now. And that shit for me is it doesn't do it for me. You know, like I want to see progression with these stories, and going back in time isn't. I want to see a new show in the current universe just after Voyager, and the only thing we've got recently is Picard.
I agree with you. I mean, but I still don't think Enterprise was in the wrong direction. I think that it was maybe not the best direction, but I think it was good for what it was. So anyway, not going off on a tangent there, but I mean, still.
How old is the actor John Delancey, by the way?
Huh?
He can't come back. He can't come back as Q anymore without looking like an old fart, can he?
Yeah, but he could always just be like, "Oh, I aged myself up so I could fit in." You know what I mean? Like,
I guess, but he's got to physically act like he's not old, if you know what I mean. He can't be moving around like Robert De Niro in the fucking Irishman with a 30-year-old face and a 70-year-old body. You know, I'm not saying they're going to age him down or anything, but I'm just saying that I don't know. I would like to see him in some sort of future show. You mentioned he wasn't in Picard, maybe in season 2. But I mean, with the way they got technology now, they can de-age him. But
I mean,
I'm not sure
well,
if that
and they
would be the
could,
right thing to
but
do.
without spoiling the end of Picard, I can't really talk about it. But I
Speaking of
mean,
which, have you started
Yeah,
watching
fair
that?
enough. No, I haven't. I'm sorry.
You need to start watching it.
Oh yeah, I should. I'm
he
so
thought
sorry.
the first 2 episodes were garbage. So
I know. I was here when we
It was
talked
really
about
hard.
it. I'm going to start watching it because it's like the first few episodes. It's literally they're closing some doors from the original series.
the original Next Gen.
Yeah, the original Next Gen series, and it really starts getting good after the first 2 or 3 episodes. But on Q, I kind of found something that kind of sums up Q like in one big punch when it comes to Q and Next Gen.
Go on. He's thinking,
Yeah, I love Q.
he would know. He would know what fucking Picard is thinking about.
But see,
I mean,
that's
I'm
that.
surprised. I'm surprised. Yeah, go on.
No, go ahead.
I mean, like, he's asking. I'm kind of surprised that Q, like he's asking for like Janeway's consent. He could just, you know what? I just put my baby inside your belly, beloved. You're gonna have, I've put a Jesus Christ in your gut. You know what I mean? I done it. Holy Lord style. Holy Lord style. You know what I mean?
Listen,
Impregnated you without fucking you.
I would have marked out so hard if Q, when they did that, if Janeway would have said, well, why don't you just throw a baby in my, why don't you just impregnate me without my consent? And he's like, no, last time I did that, they killed the kid and sent it back to me.
Oh, jeez.
That would have been genius.
I mean,
oh God.
I
I
think
realize-
that would have been fantastic.
You
Yeah.
gotta realize, Q actually learned a little bit of that self-restraint from Next Gen. He learned that from Picard, because I guarantee you, like, if they would have brought Q in the manner that we know Q when Next Gen first started, but he wasn't in Next Gen and he was in Voyager, I guarantee that's exactly what would have happened. Q would have showed up and went, "You are now my baby mama," and then disappears for however long.
9 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, if Kate McGrew ever got pregnant, they could just do that as the how her on-screen pregnancy. But hold on, but here's the thing about, and this is where we get into, you kind of have to accept it's a TV show. If Q is omnipotent and Q should not have character progression. I get it. He does. He has to. It's a TV show. But it's like, let's break it down in reality, though. If he's omnipotent, he's the same at the end as he was in the beginning. So it's like, should he be? Look at Zam. He's over there freaking sleeping.
I'm here. No, but look, omnipotent means that he's everywhere, but doesn't necessarily mean he's everywhere at every time. I'm sure he time jumps, but then he would be in a universe where he would be there as well, which is weird, if you know what I mean. And so, shit like this is not worth thinking about.
We'll rack our brains on it forever. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is one of those, like, we have to accept that it's a show. Like, and I get that, but I'm just like, but it's just like, he shouldn't have character progression. But I love him more for it. So he can be anywhere. Sure. He's just not every when.
As far as character progression, I almost think that's why Q took such an interest in Mankind and Picard and stuff, is because for however long that they've been around, and however long they've been bored, like they show like Voyager, who knows how long they've been like that, how many thousands or millions of years they've been like that. Maybe the Mankind was the catalyst, in the Q continuum, and the Q that we all know and love, he's learning something new, and it's exciting for him. It's just one of those like theory things, and where we could go in for hours and hours and hours on this. But I think that's where a lot of that comes from.
Yeah, I mean,
go on.
No, go ahead, Zam.
No, I was thinking regarding Q. Um, when I was talking about the time travel earlier, is he always in? If he goes back in time to another point in time, is he also with himself in that time, or is he taking himself to that time because he's only one unique to himself? There'll never be two of Q anywhere. He always. You understand where I'm coming from? I've been pondering on this for the last couple of minutes, and it's bugging me. But anyway,
And that's what I'm saying. Like, can Q be he can be everywhere, but can he be every when? So as I said, it's almost not worth thinking. You're
Yeah.
right. It's almost not worth thinking about because your head will explode. So what about? I want to bring up the episode where, and I know we kind of been jumping back to Next Gen, but I want to bring up the episode about where Picard dies, and and then remember because he had a heart replacement when he was a cadet in Starfleet. From the
yes, that episode. That's a great episode.
And he gets to show Picard what his life would have been like if he hadn't taken the risks of his life and yada yada. And he turns out to be like this astrometrics, or was it astrometrics officer or
a shitty science office?
Yeah, he was
shitty science officer. Yeah.
And
we're seeing him in that blue.
I think.
Yeah, he was just like a lieutenant, wasn't he? He wasn't much more. He was just like one above ensign.
Actually, I think he was lieutenant your grade, which is like really low.
And yet he's like, he looks like he's in his 50s, and he's like, he hasn't been promoted at all, and he had no ambition, and it was great, what certain thing in life could, make your character or not make your character, so to speak. And he needed to be stabbed. It just didn't seem very Picard-like to have a fight in the bar. Doesn't seem like him at all.
I feel
he comes across as really rebellious, and then he's not. He's weird.
No, I feel like if push came to shove, like in that episode, Picard would stand up and fight. Like like if someone was threatening him and his friends.
Yes.
So I mean, I feel like that's not out of character for him. I mean, now if this was supposed to be happening like in real, like he fought the Nausicaans. Now, like the one episode where Picard becomes like this, what is he? He's like a archaeologist, but he's undercover. That episode was a bit jarring for me because I just didn't see current Picard being able to like doing half the things that he was doing in that episode and stuff like that. He was just too diplomatic. But like we
got Curzon as well, Tom Hardy's character.
Yeah.
As well from Nemesis, Nemesis, and he was a version of Picard that went down a totally different path.
We don't talk about Nemesis.
Why not?
Oh, I don't know. I was.
Insurrection's the worst one. Gee, that could have been that felt like a fucking episode on TV. It was so bad. F. Murray Abrahams and these fucking plastic surgery aliens. Oh my god. It felt like fucking Escape from LA with the Bruce Campbell scenes. Oh god.
Well, but that's
awful. Awful, man. Awful.
Like if there was any movie Q should have been in, it should have been that one because it would have I feel like it would have elevated it because of the moral quandary. And you know how Q just eats that stuff up. The moral quandary.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the moral quandary for sure. But a planet like that, even after the end of Insurrection, wouldn't have been left alone. You know what I mean? That planet, and you know what? Honestly, a planet like that for 40 fucking people or whatever, 400 people for a whole planet that can change your fucking life inside and out, like, a real Garden of Eden of a planet, a fountain of youth of a planet. Please. No one's going to, please, that planet's going to be, it's going to be like the oil of the fucking universe. Everyone wants a piece
I was about
of it.
to say, like, that they would have, if the Federation really did not want, the Federation would have to, like, set up, like, massive defenses on that planet if they weren't going to let people colonize it. I think they should have made that planet the new Risa. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I guess so.
I don't. I mean,
It's that, and
but the great thing about it is that at the end of it, like if Q was in it, Q could have just Q could have been like, well, it's a normal planet again. So you guys failed. You know, like it would have been a good failure moment for humanity, because although Picard succeeded, like all of humanity failed, because like you could have had like all like the Klingons showing up and the Romulans showing up and the Ferengi showing up trying to like buy real estate and sell it for a spa. Like you could have. I mean, it could have been. I mean, you think that you could have been a cluster, man. But no, I mean, but that's like one of the many times that Star Trek has solved death and just not even talked about it ever again.
exactly, that planet is a head fuck. I mean, if nobody dies, yeah, then eventually that planet is going to be more of a problem than a blessing. You've got to die at some point in your life. You don't live forever. Everyone has to fucking die, unless you're a Q.
I could see Q showing up in the movie and just snapping his fingers and looking at Picard and going, "My one gift to this universe, and you guys screwed it up."
Yeah, right. Like it was,
yeah.
I could see that like with the Q like showing up in the beginning and saying, "My gift to this universe, eternal youth or eternal life, but it has to be on this planet." And then all it is this like gold rush of all the races to like get and claim this planet, and like Picard and of course Picard's the only one there, like from the Federation. So Picard then has to like defend the planet and deal with all the races trying to take over the planet. And then the Borg show. No, I wouldn't bring the Borg in, but because they were in the last movie. But I feel like it would have been a good like. You would have seen Klingons, you would have seen Romulans, you would have seen Ferengi, you would have seen Cardassians. Everybody starts showing up all of a sudden, and instead of having like the what are they the plastic surgery aliens, you'd have like more Trek lore, and then at the end, like Picard maybe ends up blowing the planet up, or using Genesis to scorch the planet because nobody can agree on it. Nobody can share well, like they even at points talk about dividing up the planet into certain
Genesis was destroyed. Genesis was destroyed, by the way.
I know. I'm just like Genesis in the planet, like just eradicate. And Picard decides
the planet is the planet was a failure as well. But by the way, I want to quickly mention when the Qs were having the civil war, were they killing each other?
Yes.
So more Qs were dying.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just one Q. Fuck knows how many Qs died.
Yeah, they were
killing each other.
Weapons. So when they get injured with those Q weapons, and they can die with those weapons, even though they look like muskets. Like they're actually like that's how they perceive.
Yeah, because like the Q themselves, they don't look like humans. They fuck knows what they look like. But the point is that they created like a world that would be compatible for Janeway to comprehend.
Yeah.
Whilst they were having their war, and they made it into like the American Civil War. I for fuck's sake. I mean, I actually when they do shit like that, I fucking hate it. It could not have to be American Civil War. It could have been World War II. It could have been anything. Yeah. I find shit like that as a cop out in the writing. I really don't like shit like that. Like you humanize it. You make it earthly. I can't stand it. A lot of Star Trek done that. The amount of times they've done the fucking musket fuckers and and the guys with the fucking drum. They've done that in Next Generation. They've done that for years. I fucking hate that shit. I always hate that shit. I don't know about what you guys think.
I didn't mind it, but I'm American, so I guess No,
it doesn't have to be American though. Like it could be anything to do with Earth's history. They tend to use that a lot in Star Trek, more often than they should. They've used the Second World War. They use the American Civil War. They use shit like that all the fucking time. Driving me nuts. As a way of explaining things, like when that Hunter alien from Voyager were using World War II as a way of sport and shit. Like for fuck's sake, man. No originality. It's just stuff like that drives me nuts.
So,
anyway,
to kind of bring us back around to like the whole Q Continuum War and all that.
Yes.
The way it was explained in the episode when Q was explaining to Janeway that the weapons were so powerful to be able to kill each other that it can wipe out whole universes.
Yeah. Well,
So every time
that-
Tom Paris fired a musket, they were blowing up universes.
Pretty much.
I find see that's what I find really stupid, because it shouldn't be about the power of the weapon. It should be that a weapon capable of killing a Q. So like it blowing up universes just means that you have to hit the Q hard enough to kill it. And I find that stupid.
That touches on it. It does touch on that. I think that's what emphasizes the how much power it takes to kill a Q.
Yeah.
Well, and I think the war was, I think they were having like supernovas that were occurring at an alarming rate around them, and I think that was a part of the war. Like supernovas were just happening like all over the place.
Yeah.
And that was kind of the collateral damage of the war, like were those supernovas. I think that's how it started, because they were like they watched one supernova, and then there was another one happening not too far from them, and they're like, wait a minute, like,
and then there's like three of them, and then all of a sudden Q pops in and goes hello in his spectacular fashion.
I love how Q calls Jane Kathy, by the way. Just saying.
Yeah, he's the best, man. He's the best, and I don't think there'll ever be another character like Q to when it comes to Star Trek, because he's the standard bearer. Nobody comes back as often as he does, because he's so fucking great. And it's a credit to John Delancey as an actor to create such a fascinating and lovable character. I mean, people love Q. I mean, that's why he's so popular. He's very likable. I don't know what you guys think. I love him. I when he's on screen, I'm smiling. How about you guys?
Go ahead, Boogeyman.
He's one of those anomalies that, like, every time he is on screen, you love it, because something crazy past the normal writing of a show is going. Like, even if it was new episodes, like if he were to jump in Picard in the next season, you would instantly know this is about to get crazy.
Yeah,
it's that unexpected. It's like, okay, so we know the standard of writing, say like Picard, if he shows up, we know the standard of writing that they're basically having for Picard now at the end of the first season. Q shows up, you just take that script and you throw it out the window and go, let's do it.
I don't know. I mean, with the whole Q thing, I mean, yeah, he's definitely stable.
Like it?
There's no.
You like him, but you like it when he's on screen, though, don't you? It makes you happy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, Q is by far one of the best characters in any sci-fi. Let me be clear. I'm not just saying Star Trek. Q by far, to me, is one of the best character / antagonists. Yeah, antagonists. Like, and I don't even say like you're kind of right. He's like an anti-hero. He's like a bad toddler. Like he's so curious. He's so mischievous.
Powerful toddler.
Yeah, like he's like, you give a toddler the power of God, and you got Q. He's just causing. Yeah. He's just causing shit. But I mean, the other thing is that they could be so creative and weird with him too. Like you could do anything. You could be like, like the safari outfit. Hey, what do you want to do? Let's have Q show up in a safari outfit. Okay, because he can. Like, it's not, you can do the weirdest and most creatively stupid things ever, and just, it's Q. That's the only thing you need to know.
Yeah,
that's it.
And do you think there should be enough, like, somebody maybe to take the mantle, not necessarily pretend to be John Delancey's Q, but be a Q nevertheless. Maybe his son, take the mantle and we can still have the shenanigans. I mean,
I think the only person who can do that would be Q's son. And I think the way that they could do that is if I don't remember the actor who played Q's son in Enterprise or in Voyager. I'm sure he's much older now, probably John Delancey's age when John Delancey started on Next Gen. But if Q did show up again, I would say maybe, have that actor come back, because we would, I mean, with the internet nowadays, everybody would probably be okay with it because it's, it's the same actor. So everybody would be like, oh, this could be interesting. And if it falls flat, it falls flat. But I think really the only person who can do it is Q's son or John Delancey himself.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, I'm kind of fresh out things to say regarding Q. Anybody else got anything else to say?
I do have one more. There is one kind of
Please.
like big plot hole that I would love to see them, even in a book. Because I mean, this may be explained in the books too, that we mentioned earlier. But like, I would have loved to have heard like the history of these two.
I don't think we want that. I mean, it's like the Joker. It's like we really don't want to know his history. Like, once you know it, it kind of takes the... And actually,
them too, yeah.
That image brings up a good point. But I'll come back to that. But that I was actually going to bring up once you were done. But, like, I don't know if we want to know the history. I think we want it to be a mystery. I mean, all we know is that they might have been corporeal eons ago, and they kind of moved past that corporeal living. And I think that's all we need from them. I don't know if I want an origin story.
I heard Whoopi Goldberg might be in season 2 of Picard as Guinan.
She is.
Patrick Stewart, but Patrick Stewart asked her to do it. And obviously, Whoopi Goldberg is a massive Star Trek fan. Like Eddie Murphy and several other people are Christian Slater and so many other people who've played cameos in Star Trek. So I feel that they will go there. I really do. I think they're going to go there. Now you mention it. It feels very viable. I think John Delancey would love the work. I mean, this is his legacy, being Q as an actor. It's always good. It's always good as an actor to have a character that is connected to you, that is throughout pop culture and film noir or whatever it may be, but something that is stayed the test of time. And this is his character, the same way Ash is for Bruce Campbell and stuff like that. This is him. And I wouldn't mind seeing something from these two, to tell you the truth, because you know what, everything gets revealed nowadays. All the mysteries are over nowadays. So fucking tell us what the hell's going on with these two fuckers.
But that also brings back a point: was Guinan's had a lot of, that picture brought up a point, and we can end on this, I guess, or whatever you want to do. But didn't Guinan made reference in the episodes that her people have had, and her people are old too, but they've had a lot of run-ins with the Q. Was it?
Yeah.
Well, they've had run-ins with fucking everybody.
Well, yeah.
With the Borg, the fucking Nexus, everything, man.
See, this relationship between the Q and Guinan and her species, that it almost feels like that Guinan is a Q, but she came back to. I mean, think about it.
She's definitely not.
It's not that far fetched.
Maybe was, but she's definitely not a Q.
She was a Q or is a Q, but she has returned to living.
The Nexus will disprove that, because the Nexus and Generation, the way she talks about it and all that sort of shit, she's not a Q, because she is her. If she was a Q, she's her own fucking Nexus. You know what I mean? So that's why she's not a Q.
I mean, I don't. Is it feasible that she was a Q turned mortal? Maybe. But remember, the Q had said, and this could be a lie because the Q are the Q, but they had said that a Q becoming mortal and dying has not been done in millennia. And I mean, remember, that's
not long for a Q. It's like a second.
Well, okay, but still, I mean, I don't think it would be a good idea. In my opinion, that would be a terrible idea. I like the interaction between. I like to hear more about the interaction between Guinan's race and Q's. Like, that would be nice. I mean, I don't think it was anything rather than typical Q shenanigans, and Guinan's race just, they're just not putting up with his shit. I mean, that's pretty much what it would be.
But
Or they felt the brunt end of his mischievousness maybe before he came round and became less of an arsehole.
so but the words you just said, has not been seen in a millennia. Did Guinan never die in any of the Star Trek?
No.
So a Q becoming mortal and dying still technically hasn't happened. So it's still true to form, and it's just one of those it's one of those things. It's always sparked in my head anytime I ever watch any of the episodes that have Guinan and Q in it together. It is Guinan either a non-corporeal being that's come back to be corporeal, or is she a Q that's been basically hiding in plain sight the whole time?
No. It can't. It makes no sense, dude, because of generations. Generations doesn't, because why would she be so mesmerized by being in the Nexus when she spoke about it to Jean-Luc Picard? It makes no sense. And obviously,
But
they could say fuck all that and just ignore that. Sorry?
That's the thing, though. Not any. If you really think about it, anything with the Q technically doesn't make sense.
I'll congratulate you. I'll congratulate you if your theory ever comes out right, and I'll be pissed off if it does, because for me it makes very little sense. But I just think maybe going down a rabbit hole here with this one, but I mean, honestly, stranger things have happened, but I'll be very disappointed if the writers decide to make Guinan a Q. For
agree.
me, those issues would really piss me off, because there are some major issues from the film Generations alone that just ruins it for me. It's impossible.
See, now I gotta look.
And the thing with the Borg, as well. Like, if she was a Q, would she let all the people around her fucking die from the Borg? All of that shit. Yeah. So anyway, let's just leave it as that. It's been an hour. I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Any more to say, fellas?
Nope.
Great. Well, please join us for our next podcast. It might be 9 Inch Fails. It might be another highly illogical podcast. It might be something else. It might be us just playing some video games. Who knows? But either way, thank you very much for watching. Have a nice day. And don't forget to subscribe to Nerd Nation. Like this channel. Subscribe to our Facebook page. Look for the logo. It's the same as the one on the YouTube channel. That's how we are on Facebook, Nerd Nation. Thank you very much for watching, and have a nice day.
Bye.